Hello and welcome to another episode of On The Topic. And this week I'm going to give a rousing speech in front of an open pool only to get munched in one shot. I'm Alex.
And I think we are going to be the only people that survive this episode. I'm Dan.
Or are we? Maybe, we hope. So Dan, this week we are talking about... What are we talking about this week?
Deep Blue Sea.
We are.
1999, we're going to party like it's the 90s.
Like it's a turn of the millennium. Millennium Bug, were you worried about that as a 9-year-old? 10-year-old?
I would have been 14.
My bad.
13, 14?
Yeah, as a 14-year-old.
Not
Was
really.
Something? No?
No.
You were worried that when New Year came around, your VCR would stop working because it couldn't recognise the 2 0s. That's the thing though, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Your favourite... I think most VCRs worked, but there was a... Sorry, listener, if you're young enough to not to know... Not that we're ageist, but if you're young enough not to know what VCR is, it's a tape player, videotape player.
It's ancient.
And some of the, I say modern, in inverted commas, VCRs would be a clock. So it would have a digital output and it would say, right, today is X date, and then the calendar would go up to 1999. But when it tipped over 2000, no one actually tested when they built these things what happened when it went to 2000. They only ever built it to 19XX. So when it tipped over to 2000, everyone's like, oh, will my program record? And will my cooker stop working? And will we have electricity? And will the world go into meltdown? And what happened on the 1st of January 2000?
Not a lot.
Fuck all. Just like a normal New Year's Day, everyone in the UK probably had a roast dinner, had a couple of bevies and went along their business.
Pretty much.
Nothing happened.
Nothing actually happened.
But what they were doing, Dan, was they were perhaps waiting for the Deep Blue Sea tape to come out.
Yeah. Go to Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Get the latest film. This isn't the first time we've talked about Blockbusters and VHSs and...
So the holy grail of Friday and Saturday nights.
It was.
And the place where fines would become a real thing, just like libraries. Libraries, though, these days don't try not to give out fines, I think, because they think it's counterintuitive. Because you never get the books back anyway, you just cancel your... Anyway, that's a different type of subject. Yeah, you get fined, wouldn't you? Like £4 a day for every day that you didn't hand it back in.
It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I remember when I used to rent out games and they take it back and they go, well, we couldn't rent this game that you wanted because we just had to pay out 12 quid to, you know...
It's a lot of money back in the 90s.
It was, yeah.
Or 2000s.
But a simpler time.
It was.
I was thinking about this the other day, right? When was the last time you remember it being a simpler time? And I can't think of a simpler time than the 90s.
Maybe during uni. But that's because you've got lots of expendable income, not an awful lot of responsibility. And your greatest worry is where you're going that evening to what bar and what pub.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
I think that's, for me, that's what embodies a simpler time. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd agree.
It's a while ago now. But anyway, let's not lament and let's talk about this film. And I think it's been a long time coming because we've talked about this for a while. And when I talk about Deep Blue Sea, it's really odd for me, Dan, because the reason this and why I'm putting you through this is because it's kind of... I think my interest has rubbed off on you. Is that fair to say? In the film? Not they've had a choice of talk about it most weeks. But I don't think of it particularly fondly. You know, when we talk about Jurassic Park... We talk about some other franchises. I genuinely have a love for it. And Deep Blue Sea, I do love the film, but I wouldn't say I'm absolutely besotted. But I find it fascinating, and I find it fascinating because I guess we'll talk about it throughout the episode. It's still today, or a couple of months ago, when I rewatched it, catches me off guard. And I think there is something special about the way it tells a story. It's not a perfect film by any means. I've got plenty of examples where the film is janky as fuck. There's lots of continuity errors. There's lots of issues with the filming and the order, and they had audience feedback, and I'll give you all of the insights and behind the scenes. There's also something quite simple with this disaster film. It's horror, disaster, action.
It's got a bit of everything.
I think it really does, and I don't know why I like it, but I do. And I think as we go through this episode, perhaps I'll use it as closure, Dan. But I enjoy it. So if you haven't seen it, guys, I mean, I'm not going to put a spoiler alert in because it's 23 years old.
Yeah.
You should have really watched it by now. But you can watch it in the streamers. So I guess if you want to pause this and go watch it, I think it's on Amazon Prime at the minute. Or it was, at least when I was on holiday when I watched it.
Yeah, I think it is.
Or I'm sure you could pick up a copy for £3 or something in digital. Go give it a watch. And if you don't like it, send us some feedback. Say, Alex, I paid £3 and it's fucking rubbish. You know what? That's fine. If I come across you in the street, a disclaimer, I'm not actually going to do this, but if I come across you in the street, I can buy you a pint, and that may go some way for compensation. But I don't think I need to, because I think you'll enjoy it. And by the way, I won't be doing that. But I think there's something in it for everyone. I do believe that.
And if Alex is setting this as homework for you, make sure you don't leave it 3 to 4 years.
But you made right on it.
I did. So I actually watched this as part of our favourite 90s films volume 2, but we never really talked about it. And that's fine, because we knew we were going to do this review.
Yes.
And that's why we're here.
And we are here. So, in good usual working fashion, we'll give you some details about the film, the cast, the plots, our favourite bits, not so favourite bits. As I say, I've got some really interesting behind-the-scenes stuff, just to kind of bring the film to life. And next time we go and watch it, I know what Alex and Dan are talking about. I now understand. Or we've ruined it for you, because actually something that is otherwise you would never notice, you're going to be looking out for it. But I make no apologies, because again, the film is 23 years old, and it makes no apologies for the way it's been delivered.
No.
So should we put our scuba gear on, jump in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's kick things off with the synopsis, as per OTT tradition. Deep Blue Sea is a 1999 American science fiction horror film.
Sorry. I know I keep on doing this, I interrupt you, I'm sorry. I still have a problem with that title.
American science fiction?
No, nothing wrong with the American part, but the science fiction horror, they used that same term, didn't they, for what film did we see recently? Do you remember? Our last review. Similar theme, genre. The Meg 2.
Yes.
They called the Meg 2 a science fiction horror film. I just can't get behind that.
Talking of the Meg 2, I rewatched it over the weekend.
Did you?
With the missus, yeah.
Did the missus enjoy it?
She did.
Oh, good.
So she's going to go listen back to the OTT episodes, which if you've already seen the Meg 2 and you listen to this now, this is a very shark-heavy season for OTT.
Right? Yeah, my bad.
Hopefully she'll see our point of view.
But let us know, guys, if you have seen them. I know we're tapping into something very niche, but let us know if there's a comparison there, whether you disagree or agree or otherwise. I'll put a link in the description below about the previous episodes. But yeah, sorry, Dan. I just can't get behind science fiction horror film. I get what they're saying, but that just doesn't fit the bill. I don't know what does, but...
So it's got a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Set in an isolated underwater facility, the film follows a team of scientists and their research on mako sharks to help fight Alzheimer's disease. The situation plunges into chaos when multiple genetically engineered sharks go on a rampage and flood the facility. It is directed by Rennie Harlin. It is written by Duncan Kennedy, Donna Powers and Wayne Powers. It's produced by Akiva Goldsman, Tony Ludwig and Alan Rich, or Reich. I think I've got that right. Music by Trevor Rabin. And Alex, what about the cast?
We've got an interesting cast, and I don't want to be disparaging these guys. You don't really see them post to year 2000, a lot of them. Got Thomas Jane, who I think was doing a couple of films towards that part of cinematography, the cinema era, but we haven't really seen him do much since. He plays Carter Blake, I guess a mercenary, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
Saffron Burrows, again, she had a somewhat of a career, but I haven't again seen much of her since this, as Dr. Susan McAllister. You got an LL Cool J, which I think is a surprise for this film.
The unsung hero, in my opinion.
100%. but I think he's surprised because no one really knew he was casted or even could act. And he was in this film. You're like, what's this all about? And he has got acting chops.
He does.
Which is really odd. And he's Sherman Preacher Dudley. You've got Jacqueline McKenzie as Janice Jan Higgins, and Michael Rappaport as Tom Scoggins. Stellan Skarsgård, of course, we know him.
Yeah, isn't he? He's got a son, famous son.
Yes,
or relative.
But also, is he not the Doctor from the MCU?
Yes,
astrophysicist, who Loki takes over in the Avengers and ends up being part of Thor.
Yeah,
he's Dr. Jim Whitlock. Bit of a knobhead in this one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Got Ada Truro as Brenda Kearns, and Samuel L. Jackson as Russell Franklin, and he represents a large multi-corporate, multinational company who's got a lot of money into this whole thing. Goes there just to kind of see what it's all about, really, what their investments in.
Yeah. Release date was July 28th, 1999. Seems a long time ago now.
Yeah. So at New Year, you would perhaps be going to Blockbuster because 6 months later it's on tape.
Yep.
You'll be trying to get this out.
Absolutely.
We're spot on.
Runtime of 105 minutes. So it's not overly long, and with all the action, it flies by.
It really does. I watched this on the plane home. Oddly, I could watch anything I wanted, and I decided to watch this. And before I know it, I was getting my drinks served and my airplane fart food delivered.
Yeah.
I blinked and it was like, yeah.
That's why we call it a fart tube on OTT, right?
Yeah. Although I was contributing a lot to that flight. But anyway, that's by the by.
The budget was $60 to $82 million, and it didn't do too badly at the box office. It made $165 million.
Not bad.
No. I've got a bit of background before we go into the plot.
Tell me.
Deep Blue Sea had a production budget of $60 to $82 million and represented a test for Harlin, who had not made a commercially successful film since Cliffhanger in 1993.
And have we just talked about Cliffhanger?
Yes.
We did in our 90s, favourite 90s, Volume 2. It's my favourite. Second film I think I talked about.
I think it was, yeah. Good choice.
What a cracking film.
The film was primarily shot at Fox Bayer Studios in Rosarito, Mexico. Christ, Dan, put your teeth in. Where the production team constructed sets above the large water tanks that had been built for James Cameron's 1997 film Titanic.
A lot of water.
Although Deep Blue Sea features some shots of real sharks, most of the sharks were used in the film were either animatronic or computer generated.
Yes.
Trevor Rabin composed the film score. LL Cool J contributed to 2 songs to the film: Deepest Bluest Shark's Fin and Say What.
That Deepest Bluest Shark's Fin track, if you listen to it in full, it's when the credits start rolling. It's phenomenal. It's
a great song.
It's so good.
So 90s.
It is. It embodies everything that is right and simultaneously wrong with the 90s. It's great.
He's in good company. You know, I think Will Smith did a couple of songs for his films, like Wild Wild West.
Yes, he did. 97, is it?
Yeah.
98?
Something like that. Not a good film, by the way.
No.
Horrendous.
Absolute dog.
Isn't that where they had the collars on and the flying blades?
Exactly.
They rope you in with all the good stuff, but actually it's hot trash.
It is. Stinking.
Let's dive into the plot, Alex. Let's get into it. So, in a remote underwater facility, Doctors Susan McAllister and Jim Whitlock are conducting research on mako sharks to help in the reactivation of dormant human brain cells like those found in Alzheimer's disease patients. I mean, should you really be diving into this sort of stuff?
Nope.
After one of the sharks escapes the facility and attempts to attack a boat full of young adults, financial backers send corporate executive Russell Franklin to investigate the facility.
Can we just take a quick moment to pause on that opening scene with the teenagers? The perfect setup, right? They're on the boat, they're larking around, they probably shouldn't be there, it's at night, you can't see anything. Supposedly they dropped anchor, they've got a boombox playing God knows what, a bit of R&B or whatever. They're drinking, and then suddenly something bangs the boat. Like, what's that? You know, like Jim Bro
Yeah.
What is Chad ends up going to have a look. There's nothing there, babe. Let's get back to smooching or whatever he says. Obviously, he doesn't say that. No one says smooching. Let's go back to whatever. And then suddenly you blink and they're all in the fucking water. I don't know how, but this shark apparently has got the power of Superman. Nudges the boat 4 times, 4 bodies in the water. They're all scrambling. And then what happens, Dan? Do you remember? So seemingly they are going to be dead. And someone comes to their aid.
I can't really remember the opening, to be honest.
Carter Blake, played by Thomas Jane, creepy bloke, fucking from nowhere, ends up shooting this shark, and you're like, well, where'd he come from? Surely you would have heard the chugging of the boat. What, has he always been there? Has he dropped anchor and he's watching these kids, like, I don't know, getting it on the boat? It's really weird. Did you not? Maybe it's just my state of mind as watching. I was like, what is he doing there?
Standard 90s. Creepers everywhere.
He's just leering at these teenagers, and he's like, just looking, worryingly at this shark. He's just, butchered in front of these poor teenagers, and he's like, why were you there? Don't know. It wasn't ever explained. I think he's odd. But anyway, yes, Russell Franklin is sent to understand how this happened and actually where's all the money going on, because it's quite an expensive thing. They're saying they're at a facility. They want to make sure their investment is going to have some returns.
Already feels a bit like the plot to Jurassic Park.
Put a pin in that.
Okay.
It's a good pin. I like where you're going. We'll peel that back later.
Right, where are we? Susan and Jim prove their research is working by testing a certain protein complex that was removed from the brain tissue of their largest shark, which bites off Jim's right arm upon awakening in the laboratory.
Yeah, he's savage.
Blood everywhere.
But I mean, you don't get close to animals anyway, whether they're alive, they're sedated, or they're dead, because these things are going to kill you.
It's like these big cats, isn't it? They try to put them to sleep to bring them in, do an op, or whatever. Sometimes that trank isn't always going to work.
Nope.
That bad boy is going to wake up and he's going to chomp you.
He is. He did.
And much like the shark did. Brenda Kearns, the tower's operator, calls a helicopter that braves heavy rain and strong winds to evacuate Jim. Why is there always a storm when this shit kicks off in these films?
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. I'm going to still hold on to that. I feel like
I'm about to land the blow.
As Jim is being lifted, the cables jam, dropping Jim and his stretcher
this is savage.
into the shark pen.
I don't know how it all goes absolutely batshit, but it does for the space of 3 minutes.
It does.
The place is in rubbles. Poor Jim is drowning, simultaneously getting eaten and smashed up against a glass wall.
Yeah.
And sharks are getting let loose. It goes batshit like in no time. One of the aspects why I like this film, but also why I think it's absolutely crazy.
It doesn't beat around the bush. It's due straight into the action, really. The larger shark grabs the stretcher and pulls the helicopter into the tower, killing Brenda and the pilot, as well as causing massive explosions that severely damage the facility.
Yep.
I mean, what a place to be, on a facility in the middle of the ocean in stormy weather.
Now here's the landing blow. So in Jurassic Park, how do they limit the number of casualties on the island before they open it? Do you remember?
Don't they ship them all off?
Correct. They ship them all off because the weather's coming in. They're like, actually, you know what? You've done all you need to. Go enjoy yourself in Cuba? It's off Cuba?
Yeah. It was one of those islands, wasn't it?
We should know this.
Island Nubla was where it was set, wasn't it?
Let's say Cuba. Go enjoy yourself, and when the storm finishes, come back, and then we'll talk about opening the park. That's how they limit the body count, because otherwise you've got a whole island manned by people, by stuff. So that's how they do it. Brilliant plot thread.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, that storm is in its own right the disaster. It's the character, but also it's a means to plausibly get the body count down. In this one, the storm is exactly the same thing. They see it coming, they say, guys, off you go enjoy yourself, R&D, go off for the weekend, we're going to work back here, skeleton crew, off you go. Done the same thing. Textbook.
Yeah.
What's 7 years later? Same difference. Same difference again in terms of it all goes piton. You've got no power, no protection, those barbed wires are coming down. The shark's now left open, and there's no one manning the perimeter because poor whatever her name is, Brenda ends up in bits. She's
brown bread.
She's blown to smithereens, which is quite unsavoury actually.
Yeah, literally just like the helicopter just goes straight in and it's like boom.
Yeah,
gone.
And I think that's why when I looked at it, I was like, this is all the hallmarks of Jurassic Park. It's exactly the same. But by the way, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's a very easy way to kind of instill that dread very quickly of the characters being alone. No one's going to save them. The cavalry aren't above the water. The storm's there. It's stopping people from coming to rescue you. You're on your own.
Yeah.
Same as the raptors and the T-Rex. It's the same thing. Don't think it's a bad thing. It might be a little bit of a cheap shot, but I think it works in this film. And I think it's a really strong setup.
In the laboratory, Susan Franklin Wrangler Carter Blake, also the Creeper, marine biologist Janice Higgins, and engineer Tom Scoggins witness the shark smash the stretcher against the laboratory's main window, which then shatters, drowning Jim and flooding the facility. It's really quite harrowing.
Because the shark's almost... I mean, they're trying to get across that this shark is enjoying what he's doing.
There is some intelligence to it.
And
he
you're
knows
like...
what he's doing.
And poor Jim, he's like...
Yeah, he's still alive.
He's like, I'm basically like, this is it. And they're like, oh no, Jim, you're getting some water, you're going to die. It's like, no, he's... The moment the helicopter arrived, he was dead.
Yeah.
They're just dragging it out. It really is quite a shocking set of scenes.
Harrowing.
It wasn't enough that he lost a limb. He's then got to go through that. Absolute piss take.
Yeah. What a way to die.
I know.
The group goes to the facility's wet entry. Where's
Excuse
a
me?
wet entry? That's what it says. That's what it says in the plot. It's a wet entry.
You need to stop talking about the wet entries, Dan.
That's not a euphemism.
I'm getting all sweaty.
Oof. Where they plan to take a submersible to escape.
Excuse me?
They take a submersible.
See my wet entry. Oh, we've lost him.
Boy.
Yeah. Filth.
Euphemisms all over the place on this show. Susan confesses to the others that she and Jim genetically engineered the sharks to increase their brain size, as they were not large enough to harvest sufficient amounts of the protein complex. This broke protocol and made the shark smarter and more deadly. So it goes back to the whole Ian Malcolm thing.
Exactly. The what's the doctor? The evil doctor who ends up being in Jurassic World. The I can't remember his name. And he's basically the mastermind behind it all, and they end up genetically engineering the dinosaurs, of course, to have the amphibious frog DNA. That just means so happens that they can reproduce because they're asexual. I'm probably getting all my terms wrong, but anyway, it's exactly the same thing, Dan. Spot on.
Played by Henry Wu.
That's the one. Yeah, him.
Yeah.
Same difference. The mad scientist. You're dabbling in things that you have no right in dabbling in, and end up, guess what? They bite your arm off. Or he ends up surviving 30 years, and does he die at the end of Dominion?
I think he does.
I think I want to say he does.
I mean, I haven't seen Dominion since we saw it at cinema, because let's be honest, it's not about dinosaurs, it's about fucking locusts.
I know, right?
But yeah, just sort of thinking about that Jeff Goldblum quote, he says, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. But guess what, guys? They did it to these goddamn sharks, and these sharks know how to be bitey and do things that are beyond.
If you're that intelligent, you'd be like, no, I'm not having this. I'm now intelligent. I know that I was in the cage. Now you're in the cage. Suck it.
This is probably one of my favourite parts, actually. In the facility's kitchen, which has been partially flooded, cook Sherman Preacher Dudley, also LL Cool J, whose parrot is eaten by a shark, manages to kill the big fish by setting off an explosion with his lighter.
Well, it's not just as simple as that, is it?
No, he's swimming around, he's trying to survive, and he gets into an oven.
Well, this shark, oddly, is massive, but it's able to navigate this half-submerged kitchen. I don't know how. And yeah, he opens the oven door, climbs in. It's like a double oven, isn't it?
He thinks he's going to survive this thing, but somehow the shark manages to hit some
accidentally.
dials.
I don't think there's any knowledge to it. Yeah,
there's no knowledge behind this.
No.
Sets the gas going, and of course LL Cool J's like, well, crap, I need to get out of this, otherwise I'm going to die in an oven. So it's almost like 2 tiers, isn't it? He sort of gets
it's like a double oven. So he manages to punch through into the top
manages
oven.
to punch through. He gets out, knowing that the gas is just starting to fill this room. He dives under. Boomf.
Yeah, hero.
He's killed 1 shark.
And there's 2.
There's 3 sharks.
There's 3 sharks.
Yeah, but he's already killed 1 of them.
Yeah, single-handedly with a lighter.
So already he's an unsung hero, guys.
He is.
When the group reaches here we go, Alex, your favourite word, the wet entry.
Oh, excuse me.
They discover that the submersible has been damaged. Now, while delivering a monologue emphasising the need for group unity, Franklin is dragged into the submersible pool by a shark and devoured. But it's quite a rousing speech, isn't it, Alex?
I was the first time I saw it, I was like, I think this is great. You know, he's got a background of what. There's this anecdote, this story where he's on top of a mountain, isn't it? And his plane crashed, and people revere him for it, and he's well known for it. And he's like, no. When I was on this mountain, we charged on through as a team, and we got on the other side. Chomp. Well, it's more than chomp, actually. It's a sea of blood.
Let's slap that soundbite in.
That's enough now from all of you. You think water's fast? You should see ice. It moves like it has a mind. Like it knows it killed the world once. It got a taste for murder. When the avalanche came, it took us a week to climb out. And somewhere, we lost hope. Now, I don't know exactly when we turned on each other. I just know that 7 of us survived the slide, and only 5 made it out. Now, we took an oath that I'm breaking now. Swore that we said it was the snow that killed the other 2. But it wasn't. Nature can be lethal, but it doesn't hold a candle to man. Now, you've seen how bad things can get, and how quick they can get that way. Well, they can get a whole lot worse. So we're not going to fight anymore. We're going to pull together, and we're going to find a way to get out of here. First, we're going to seal off this.
So, the remaining crew opt to climb up the elevator shaft at the risk of destabilising the pool.
Pool of blood.
Yeah, it's grim. As they climb, explosive tremors cause the ladder to break, and Janice loses her grip and falls into the water.
Bloody Janice.
Fucking Janice. Despite Carter's attempt to save her, a shark drags Janice under and eats her.
Again, it's quite a graphic scene because she jumps up. As she jumps up, the shark just chomps her in half. It's a bit gruesome.
Yeah. The rest of the group moves on, encountering Preacher. Carter and Scoggins go to the flooded laboratory to activate a control panel that drains a stairway to the surface, while Susan heads to her room to collect her research material, which she was actually discouraged to do.
Heavily.
Which she still does anyway.
She does.
Carter and Scoggins reach the control panel, but the larger shark storms in, ripping Scoggins apart and wrecking the controls.
That's one way to call it, storming in. Yep.
And gets some more scoff on the way through. In her room, Susan encounters another shark and electrocutes it with a power cable, destroying her research in the process. But it's quite drawn out, if I remember rightly.
It is. It's quite a cool scene, though. I mean, it could raise some eyebrows. You know, she's getting undressed and you know, she's down to her underwear. But it's not like a gratuitous kind of post-90s, you know, like teenage, let's show off the female body form. It's she needs to stand on her wetsuit because it's rubber.
Yeah.
If she doesn't, she's going to be feeling all of those power cables at once. And I think it's quite a clever scene, actually. And there's almost like I think it's kind of, It's what they showed in the trailers, you know, as she's stepping into the water very slowly with her bare feet. It's like doo-doo. It's not, that's Jaws. But you know what I mean? Like it's kind of the scene that everyone was kind of built up to. And I think that's why they drew it out. But she's being stalked in the water, and very slowly this room's filling up.
Yep.
And what she's standing on is about to fall into the water. She's like, no, it's either going to kill me or it's going to kill you. I think it's a really clever, well thought out scene. And just goes to show just how far she's willing to go to risk it all, because she's going to prison.
Yeah.
If she gets out of there alive, she's definitely going to prison. There's no doubt about that.
Broken protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we? There we go. After regrouping, Carter, Susan and Preacher go to the decompression chamber and swim to the surface while using oxygen tanks to bait the last shark as it attacks. Upon reaching the surface, Preacher is grabbed by the shark, suffering injuries to his leg, but he is released when he stabs the shark in the eye with his crucifix.
Yep.
Always good to be religious in these films, apparently.
Certainly.
And it's quite a big, hefty crucifix.
Yeah, it's done some damage.
He's smashed that eyeball in. Carter realises that the sharks have been using them to flood the facility so that they can ram their way through the fences at the surface. To keep the shark from escaping to the open sea, Susan deliberately cuts her hand and dives into the water. And as we know, Alex, sharks are drawn to blood.
They are.
Although she managed to distract the shark with her blood, she is unable to get out of the water and is devoured.
Unexpectedly, I think.
Despite Carter's efforts to save her. So we're down to the final two.
Will anyone get out alive is the question.
Well, we'll find out. While Carter is holding the shark's dorsal fin, Preacher shoots the shark with a harpoon but also pierces Carter's thigh.
Yeah, that's going to smart.
That's going to hurt in the morning. Carter orders Preacher to connect the trailing wire, so they've essentially made a bomb, to a battery, sending an electric current to an explosive charge in the harpoon, killing the shark. But Carter manages to free himself just in time after the shark manages to breach through the fence right before it gets blown. Talk about good timing.
Yeah.
He resurfaces and swims to shore, reuniting with Preacher. Moments later, they see a boat approaching the sinking facility. Roll credits.
And LL Cool J's song.
Yes. It's a good film. It's a really good film.
And it is really that quick, and it doesn't explain anything more than that. There's a bit of a backstory. They're going to go and check out this facility. You know, what's the phrase? Fuck around and find out.
Yep.
They found out. If you be dicking around with them sharks going to bite you.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. And there's nothing more than that. It's as simple as that. There's something that's happening. The sharks are gone a bit intelligent. They're playing with their prey and using them to get out, and they've got to stop them. And that is it. Start to finish, 109 minutes, you say?
109 minutes.
Not difficult. I think that's why I like it so much. It's so simple. But yet they've got all of the hallmarks of all those films we've mentioned, all of the right notes of a horror film, but not too scary.
No. So my likes, I put no one was safe. I mean, literally no one. We literally ended up with a film with two people surviving.
100%. And even 2 minutes before the curtain falls, you know, no one survives. And I think that's why I thought, basically, poor Janet, what's her name?
Janice
ends up carking it in a ball of flames. Never saw that coming. You've got all of the poor scientists. I mean, scientists are always the first to go in these kind of films, aren't they?
Yeah.
All the intelligent ones. But in this instance, quite rightly so. One of them was a dick. To the very end, where you've got one of the main characters. You get the sense it's towards the end of the film. You look at your watch going, I'm about to go to the toilet or going to get a cup of tea. She's surely going to survive. Nope. I've got a story behind that. But yeah, you totally don't expect it. I think that's why it's so good, because, as you say, Dan, it lulls you into a false sense of security, because it's like, no, we're going to follow this route of a film. It's what to expect. Anyone who's there in the last 10 minutes is going to survive through to the end.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They're going to be shark bait. I loved it.
In terms of survival, I think that's what it is. The stakes are so high. They all want to get out and they want to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 people survive. And the other thing I liked was the unsung hero, LL Cool J, the unlikely hero. They could have made it Carter, but it was all LL Cool J. Killed 2 sharks.
Yeah. I mean, I'll put here LL Cool J is a star of the show. I think Sam Jackson, he brings the star quality. I mean, he's got loads of films at this point under his belt, and you know he's head and shoulders above all the rest of the cast. But LL Cool J actually brings a comedic factor, but he can actually act. He delivers his lines perfectly. He's got the swagger. You believe that he's someone who just wants there to cook decent food and then go get drunk at the weekend. You believe him in comparison to some other characters, and I've got some in a minute on my not so favourite bits. You're like, yeah, I like him and I want him to survive. I'm glad he made the final 2.
Well, oddly, I didn't put anything in my dislikes. I said there wasn't anything I didn't dislike. I've only seen it once. I said, oddly, a film that holds up some 24 years later, all action and no dull moments. But I feel like you're going to ruin it for me now with some inconsistencies and continuity errors.
I will do in a couple of moments. I'm just going to celebrate a little bit more LL Cool J, because there's 2 particular parts that I really, really like. One is where he thinks he's going to die, and he talks into a video camera. Do you remember what he does? He's talking, he said, I'm not going to get out of here. If I'm not going to get out of here. And he starts his last will and testament as sharing his secret omelette recipe.
I remember, yeah.
And it's funny, and it's heartfelt, and it's great. And I thought that was just a very simple but very funny scene.
Hello. My name is Sherman Dudley. And if this message finds you, then I did not survive, so this is my legacy. I have loved the pulpit, and I have loved the bottom. I did my best to be a good husband, a father. There came a wanting. So what do I have to say to you? What mark do I have to leave behind? We will begin with the perfect omelet, which is made with 2 eggs, not 3. Amateurs often add milk for density. This is a mistake.
And then it's when the 2 main characters are sharing an intimate moment, and before they decide to go up in the decompression chamber and escape. Well, he says this, which is, I hate to interrupt this burgeoning intimacy, but can we get the fuck out of here?
Yes.
Which is great. And yeah, I think for that reason, he's just a very well written and well acted character. Unexpected.
Yeah.
He's LL Cool J. He's a cool gangster rapper. He has no place being in a disaster film, or apparently it's a science fiction horror, which I still don't agree with. But he is, I think, the star of the show. I agree. Not so favourite bits, Dan. It's janky as fuck. It's all over the place. It goes bananas. It doesn't take itself seriously, but I think it gets very far-fetched very quickly, and it's just really... It's something out of the Final Destination films.
Yeah.
With the helicopter crashing, and then the fireball brings it all down, and then the poor doctor ends up being stuck in this gurney that ends up then smashing against the glass. It ends up... It's a turn of events that just... I know it's not supposed to be real, but you just think, really? It's all because of a helicopter got into a little bit of challenge and got pulled in by the shark. A shark did all this? But fine, whatever.
It's not a Rexy by any stretch.
No. Thomas Jane, bless him. Carter Blake.
Oh, yes.
So one-dimensional.
Yeah, no,
sadly,
agreed.
no offence to the guy, but offence is probably going to be taken, and it's intended. Can't really act, at least not in this film. Maybe part of his writing could be part acting, but very one-dimensional. I didn't care for him. He had this whole backstory where he was on remand from prison, and he hid it from his employers, and if they found out, he'd go back to prison or lose his job. And apparently he's this revered shark hunter who apparently leers over kids in the films.
I was going to say, is that why he was in prison?
Probably. Be more fitting. I didn't enjoy him. I don't know who'd be better in the late 90s. I mean, you could pick any old actor, but bless him, he just wasn't very good. And I didn't care. So when those credits roll, LL Cool J, brilliant. I'm glad he survived. He's funny, he added something. Could I care about Carter Blake?
Yeah. No, I get you.
Personally not. And it's riddled with quite a lot of inconsistencies now.
Yes.
Can I tell you why?
Yes, let's do it.
Continuity behind the scenes problems. There's quite a few. I'll rattle through them. At around 1 hour 28 minutes. After Preacher's caught by the shark, he uses his cross to poke the shark's eye. We talked about this. In later scenes, the shark's eye is fine.
Ooh.
Which is a big problem because, it should be, partially disabled, and it's not. It's still fighting. At around 1 hour 5 minutes, Carter pries open the door with a knife that's on a sheath on his leg. The knife breaks and he throws it away. In the final scene, at around 1 hour 35 minutes, when Carter and Preacher are laying on the wreckage, the knife is clearly visible, back on its sheath on Carter's right leg.
Oh boy.
Someone in the costume department is getting a kick in the nuts. At around 55 minutes down, when the shark attacks the oven, we talked about it, a great scene, when the Preacher's inside of it, it switches the oven on, but in previous shot that shows the entirety of the front of the oven is already on.
Oh.
So lights are already on, he climbs in, it's off, it turns it on.
Oh.
Yep.
Bloopers.
Bloopers. At around 2 minutes in the beginning of the movie, when they're parting the boat with the teenagers and he's leering, the people listen to a boombox with a teddy bear on it. It's a bit of an odd thing to have. As the shark attacks the boat, the boombox falls into the water, but for a split second the camera shows the boombox still on the boat in its original place.
Oh dear.
Do you know people are actually employed to do continuity? Did you know that? That's their roles.
Wasn't there like a Game of Thrones scene where there was like a Coke can? No, or a Starbucks cup was in the background.
Yeah, it's in the latter season and they're all in the like in the throne room outside and it's underneath. Fucking idiots. Around 1 hour 35 in test screening 1 month before the film's opening, the ending had Susan or Saffron Barrows escaping the shark at the end and saving the day with a spear gun.
Oh.
Audiences booed that ending, and sure enough it came out with Susan getting eaten by and Preacher saving the day. Now apparently you can actually tell that some of the final shots were 3 shots with empty space where Burrows would have been seen. They digitally erased her.
Oh.
So originally she survived. There was 3 of them. And then in a test screening, just a couple of weeks before I went to cinema, they went, nah, this ain't going to fly. They hate it. And I think it's better for it.
Oh, 100%.
She paid the price. There was no way she should have survived because she was selfish and she was blinded by the research and loads of people died as a result of it. She had no right surviving, and I think it was a better payoff. So listen to the audience. Got some errors though, Dan.
Oh boy. Many
times where people shown to close doors even though copious amounts of water and air are rushing through them. We as humans are feeble as fuck. We won't be able to do that. Too much pressure. So they're all behind the door, pushing the door closed as it's becoming flooded. You can't do it. The amount of tonnage and pressure that comes through those doors, they'd be slammed against the wall.
You'd get slammed through the corridor and up against the wall.
100%. But that wouldn't make for a good film. At 26 minutes in, the movie implies that swimming backwards is a manoeuvre that the sharks figured out when they got smarter.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They can't do it.
Let me say they're not designed to do that.
Nope. Physically impossible.
Have you ever seen a goldfish swim backwards? No, of course you haven't.
The fins are designed for forward, not backwards. Now, numerous times the sharks pound through steel doors, and Carter provides an explanation about how much force a shark can build up. Which would be fine, but it would not be for the fact that the sharks' skulls are made mostly of cartilage, Dan.
Yeah.
And they're caving on impact, killing the shark. And actually, this is what happens quite severely at real aquariums.
Oh.
Yeah, sharks either forget or they don't see the glass, they swim into it. And
just go bump.
Yep. And that's what happened. Rather sombre fact there. At around 34 minutes, just after Jim Whitlock had his arm bitten off and falls to the ground, you can actually see his real elbow coming up from the back under his shirt.
Oh dear.
But someone didn't look at that screen footage. And when Susan is trying to get away from the shark from the fence, she sliced her hand so it bleeds and then jumped into the water. Now, she's a shark expert, Dan. And these sharks have super high sense of smell in the water, right? Why did she jump? So blood's already in the water.
Just squeeze some blood in the...
If the blood's in the water, why is she jumping in there? Now, you could say, oh, well, to move around, splash, and cause movement, because it's urgent, right? The shark could ignore the blood and still go for the open ocean. But that would be enough, and sure enough is for it to sniff out the blood and go forward for her. And the final one is at the beginning of the film where they land on this facility, airside now, not underwater. There's a scene where Carter Blake, Thomas Jane, is swimming with the shark. There's a close-up. It's a bull shark. Whereas I think in the film they were testing, were they Makos or...
Yeah, Mako sharks.
Different shark entirely. Like, they've got the pattern of a bull shark. It's not as though they've just got the different shape. It's an entirely different shark. One moment, up close, out of the water. And the next minute, they're Makos. Entirely different.
Oh dear.
So someone, again, hasn't done their research and they haven't gone, what is a shark? What's the animatronics? Is it the same bloody colour? They can't even get that right. But it's fine. Look, if you look past all of that, and I jest, because if you actually do look all past that, it doesn't take itself seriously. A bit like The Meg. It's an interesting horror film that holds no punches. Hardly anyone survives, and I think for that, that's why I love it.
So that's your overall thoughts?
100%.
I've put, it's a phenomenal 90s film. Lots of suspense. It's a thriller. It's not a perfect film.
No.
By that I mean I wouldn't go back to it as often as I'd say Jurassic Park.
What? That's fair enough.
It's not a classic, but maybe it's because I didn't see it at the time.
It's not a classic.
No.
But I like it.
Let's head over to the listener.
Yes, let's do it.
So this one comes in from Luke. He said, the Ding Dan death count isn't high enough.
No. It's got to be, what, 7?
Yeah, I mean, for this film, it probably is high enough because literally only 2 people survived.
Yeah.
However, I know what Luke's saying. If you want to know what he's talking about, go listen to our favourite 90s films Volume 2 if you haven't already, because my death count is pretty high.
It is.
In that film, that episode. But thank you, Luke. I'm now going to call it the Ding Dan death count.
Yep. It's a thing.
It's a ding dang delight, I'm telling you that much.
Is.
That wraps it up.
It does.
That wraps it up for our Deep Blue Sea review. It's short and sweet.
But I think it started a lot of kind of, well, as you say, quite a heavy, shark infested, some might say.
Oh, see where you go with this.
Yeah. Cooking on gas. Yeah, and I think, that's where my love of the Megs come from. We talked about the Meg before, the Meg 2. Obviously, we've gone back to where it all begun. And, some could say it's rose-tinted glass. I think there's an aspect to that from the 1999 classic shark film. But I think there are some redeemable aspects and still things that stand up today. And I make no apologies. And again, if you haven't seen it, listener, and we haven't put you off by those continuity errors, it really is worth a see. If you're... See?
Yeah,
there.
see?
On a roll. If you're at a loose end and you don't know what to watch on a Sunday evening, go give it a stream and then come back and let us know what your thoughts are, because I am generally keen. Obviously, I'm interested in that type of film. And Dan, you might be, but then we're already preaching to the choir because you love your disaster films, as we found out in that episode in the volume 1 of 90s. So we'd be interested to get your views and opinions about, are we barking up the wrong tree or is there something in it?
I'd say it's the sort of film, I mean, I'd sit down on a Saturday to watch it, get a curry from your local.
That's a good shout.
Have a beer.
A couple of beers.
Slap on Amazon Prime, get Deep Blue Sea on. Let's say it's less than 2 hours long. And it's
perfect, and the pacing's really good, actually.
Yeah. That's
one thing we haven't talked about. The pacing, it doesn't feel rushed.
Just ignore Alex's continuity and errors.
You're going to look for them, but it's fine. It's not perfect, but don't take it at anything other than face value.
You have to have eagle eyes for this stuff, as we've sort of learned over the years doing this podcast.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah. What we got coming up, Alex? What are we going to be doing for the foreseeable?
Well, we've probably got a film review for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I'm ready to do that. We got set some homework by new listener Lewis, so I'm going to be reviewing Honor Amongst Thieves.
And then hot off the heels of that is got to be Halloween.
Yeah.
It's our annual Halloween episode. And it's a really special one. If you haven't been on our socials, haven't kept a good eye on what we've been up to, we interviewed SGS, Southern Ghost Society.
We did. It's really good. If you're into paranormal and all that good stuff, definitely check this out. It's about, 2 hours, 10 minutes?
It's a long one, but I think it's maybe a couple of lunchtime breaks, maybe doing the washing up or going for a long drive. I would counter that, though, Dan, and say that whilst it is for people who enjoy the genre of paranormal investigations, I'm not into that camp, and yet I got a lot out of it because actually I learned more from someone who actually doesn't know and hasn't been in those things, unlike you. So I think actually there is some things in it for if you are familiar, but I think equally if you don't know what it is to run or to participate in a paranormal investigation, I think there's equally interest in there as well. It's a really good episode. None of it is to do with gratuitous kind of jump scares. It's people in a room who talk about some things that they love. There's a real interest and a joy out of trying to understand things that don't make sense.
They're very passionate.
Definitely.
You do hook onto their every word. Some of the stories they had to tell, and actually it's not just about looking for the paranormal, but it's trying to debunk what you think might be paranormal. And they're non-profit. They're just passionate. They want you to go there for an experience. And even if you go away with nothing, well, look, that was part of your experience.
It is. So no, I'm really looking forward to that one. That drops, is it 27th?
27th October.
Yeah, so that's our annual Halloween episode.
We're going to wrap up Sex Education, I think.
Should be able to squeeze it in for the end of the year.
Yeah, we reviewed seasons 2 and 3. We really enjoyed it. I'd be interested to get your thoughts on season 4, Alex.
Yep.
And of course yours, the listener. And November's going to be busy as well, by the looks of things. We've got the Marvels coming out on the 10th of November.
Oh, we do, yeah. We're doing on the go for that.
We've got some free tickets, Alex.
Oh, I love those kinds. Yeah. The best kind.
Don't go to the cinema as often as I used to, but of course I'm starting to rack up these codes now from my bank. Thank you, Halifax, you wonderful bastards, giving me free cinema tickets every time
please.
I stay out of my overdraft. It's a nice treat at the end of the day, isn't it?
Double whammy.
Dan, you've been a good boy. You stayed in the black. Have a cinema voucher.
Go spend some more money.
Yeah, we'll be possibly reviewing Loki season 2.
Yeah, I think we should. We did for the last one, and I really enjoyed it.
We love a bit the MCU at the OTT. This is where it all started for us, really.
Indeed.
And then, of course, December.
We'll be doing our awards season.
Yes.
Something different this year.
Doing something different. So I think we've sort of burnt out a lot of our Christmas ideas. So 2020 we did favourite films.
Not burnt out. We've done some heavy hitter episodes.
Yeah.
Let's leave on the high. We're doing something different.
Alex is getting defensive.
We've had some cracking episodes.
He's looking at me like, what are you on about?
Cut the recording. I'm going to edit this out. He's talking nonsense. No, I think
there were some good Christmas episodes there.
I think we could run the risk of rehashing some really good stuff, and actually doesn't need to. But yeah, a really good idea down about how we can do like an end of season awards ceremony, and I'm really looking forward to, because actually we've covered a lot this year, and we've still got lots to go.
I think it'll be a good Christmas episode. So we're going to maybe look at, I suppose it's us personally awarding stuff.
Yeah.
Favourite band or favourite album, film, TV. It's going to be a good one. One of my favourite questions actually is Dickhead of the Year.
Oh right.
Yeah, I'm slapping that in there.
I love it.
It's got to be done.
Can you self-nominate?
Sure, but I'd rather we didn't nominate ourselves as dickheads.
All right.
Because I'm sure there's big ones out there.
Noted.
And of course we'll have our Christmas speech, which is an annual thing where we reflect upon our year. And
Will Dan out with his wig, and it'll be your alternative 3 p.m. King speech.
Yeah, and then on to most anticipated 2024.
Oh yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, so it's all lined up. Got some annual episodes in there, some reviews and say the Halloween one, just be ready. It's a good one.
Yeah, smorgasbord of loads of different episodes and enough for everyone, I think.
And if you want to get in touch, if you've got any episode suggestions, or if you want to get involved in those episodes we've just mentioned,
please
keep an eye on the socials, or you can comment on anything on our socials. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. I should really use Threads more, which is @onthetopicpod. And we've got Gmail, which is onthetopicpodcast@gmail.com. And next we've got WordPress and YouTube.
Yeah, our WordPress website, so go have a look at that. It's onthetopicpodcast.wordpress.com. Go have a look at our ugly mugs. We've got the whole back catalogue on there. If you don't have a podcast player of preference, then you can stream it straight from there. And you can subscribe to our newsletter, so the moment a new episode drops, we'll notify you, and you can go and have a read, the synopsis, and listen. Alternatively, we are on YouTube, and all of our back catalogue now for OTT is on there.
It is.
All 89 or so episodes so far and counting.
And
So-
some TW Radvolt episodes as well.
Indeed. That's at OTTGITS, Get in the Sea, or just look at On Topic Podcast. We know you're having a look because we can see the numbers. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you're enjoying listening to us, perhaps as you're working or cooking or doing whatever you do with your YouTube podcasts. But we see you, and we thank you for subscribing and streaming the moment these episodes drop.
Please spread the word, and of course, if you're anywhere on a podcast platform where you can give us a rating, please do rate us.
It really does mean a lot.
Helps
It
with
does.
the algorithms as well, and just recommend us to your friends and family.
Why not? There's something for everyone.
Absolutely. This episode might not be for you, but the next one might be.
Most definitely.
That's the exciting thing. That's why we're called On the Topic.
It is.
Well, for another week, I know what I'm definitely not going to be doing, and that's going to be in a boat looking at kids. I've been Dan. That's
Whoa.
that's not what I'm going to be doing.
Okay. No one ever said that. This is awkward.
Killed the mood.
Done something. I'm going to stay away from harpoons with explosives on. I'm definitely not going to take a shark for a ride by a fin. I'm Alex.
Be less Carter. See you next time.